Hello, everybody, and welcome to our 1010 Talks. We're so excited to come to you today from the beautiful outdoors at Tanya's house.
Hi, everyone. Thank you for joining us. We are excited to talk a little bit today about self-care and expand and have a great discussion about how some practices and what self-care actually really means to each of us, as well as to you guys out there, and maybe tell you a little bit more about 1010 and why we're here.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, it's been really a journey that is I can say exciting, but at the same time it was a process of getting comfortable with it and jumping on and just doing it after talking about it for so long.
Just go with the flow. It's never going to be perfect. It will, there will be hiccups and it will be all good.
Yeah. And that was part of what we talked about last week and the week before, is how, we can take what we think are, and I love the word hiccups actually, because it's like, it's natural, it happens, and you just kind of keep on going. You don't like stop what you're doing. Even sometimes it interrupts what you're doing.
Yes.
But it's really realizing that it's looking at how to take something that's a hiccup and going on with it instead of having it control you, is how to just keep living life. And to me now, I'm at a point where it's like, oh, well, why did I get that hiccup at this point, right? It's almost like looking for a learning or a growing opportunity in it.
Well, and it's all about how we react and respond to situations, right? Because the more anxious that we get or stressed out, the more it's going to just activate our nervous system and kick it into high drive even more.
Yeah.
So taking a few deep breaths and just moving forward.
Yeah. And learning, and knowing that it's a learning process that we have to consciously do something about it. Like it's not like, oh, you're just born that way, like we have to learn, and we have to I call it like deprogram the past experiences so we don't keep reliving them. And but
even when I agree with you, because even when we deprogram and we work on, let's say, rewiring our brains to focus on more positive, healthy ways to respond or react, it still doesn't always come naturally. So I agree with you. Even just having kind of like, and that's a little bit about what we'll talk about today as well, is just even have a little step-by-step, little process in your head about what works for you, and the power of breathing. I think we talked about this last
couple of weeks.
Last couple of weeks.
The breathing that brings energy, lets that energy flow throughout.
Maybe we can take a few deep breaths right now.
Let's do it.
Let's do it, right?
And invite everybody out there
to join us.
To just take a few moments. Do you want to go ahead and guide us through it?
Just sure.
The breathing
Absolutely.
in and out.
Yes. So let's just close our eyes for a few seconds and sit comfortably in your chair or stand, whatever feels good for you. Make sure you feel nice and grounded, whether it's feet on the ground, standing, chest tall, and take a deep breath in and focus on, as you're breathing, counting to 4. So count. Hold it for just a quick second and then let it back out for 4. And this just helps you to keep your rhythm. So let's do that again. Listen to the sounds around you. Birdies chirping. Or if there are noises, just welcome them in. Whatever feels comfy for you this morning. A few more deep breaths. Embrace your surroundings. Embrace your thoughts. All right, take one more deep breath in, and then the last exhale, We're going to let it out. Breath in and exhale.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Just a couple of seconds. Sometimes that's all it takes
It
to
does.
regain yourself, calm down. And, honestly, one of the big things that I would like to talk about today is just what is self-care and what does it mean? And, I grew up, even as a young adult, thinking, okay, self-care is going to get my hair cut, going to get my nails done, I'm going to go get a massage. But which it is, don't get me wrong, I'm not trying to invalidate any of those, because to each his own. We all have our activities, our things that we like to do, things that make us happy. But self-care for me today, I really want to focus on as a restorative practice, as incorporating it on a daily basis, because you're not going to get a pedicure every day. You're not going to go, you're not going to go and, I'm sorry, I'm using female examples. I apologize for that.
But hey, guys,
men can get pedicures too.
It doesn't, yeah, I know.
They do.
Yes.
And I mean, or going to your favorite barbershop, or meeting up with your best friend,
Yeah.
or going to a bar and getting a drink, or whatever floats your boat, really. But really focusing on self-care on a daily basis, and the little things that you can do every day to make a difference. Right. Because those other practices are more of just a self-care, but in a different way, where you're taking care of doing something that makes you happy. Whether it be some of those examples that I gave, but there are a few things that we can do on a daily basis. And honestly, all it takes is, I know we say 30 minutes a day or 10 minutes a day, you can really decide on how you want to approach it. But I really like to look at, good 30 minutes a day. Excuse me about the helicopter. So I'm going to pause for a second.
I wonder if we'll find out how it sounds.
Yeah, I know, right?
But that way we can speak louder.
Yes. So I'm going to give you a little example of what I do and talk a little bit about in regards to children and families and going into adulthood. And then I think Adib is going to elaborate a little bit more, going further on, adults and one-on-one, and what we can do to really incorporate that into our daily lives. So
we're going to have some.
There's the coyotes now, I think, too. So when I say 30 minutes a day, and honestly, believe me, there are days when I say, oh my gosh, 30 minutes, I don't have time for that. Yeah. Like, the day has gone by so fast. I'm so busy. It's the end of the week. It's Friday. Like, what did I do this week? And if we think about it, 30 minutes a day doesn't have to be all at once. It can be split up into like little couple of minutes at a time. But I like to focus on, actually, I've started doing this with Melina. My older kids are all busy with their sports and school, and I have some good afternoons with my youngest one. She's 8 years old. So I have some really good afternoon time with my youngest one, and we've been doing like 10, 10, 10. Oh my gosh, I just realized this. It's in our 10, 10 talks. Mind blown. Anyway. So 10, 10, 10, and really starting to incorporate our lifestyles and talk to her about, 10 minutes of quiet or stillness, which means no electronics, no TV, no playing games, or, any of the activities that she likes to do, just stillness, quiet, doesn't have to be meditation. 10 minutes of movement. It can be a walk, it can be just, doing squats in the kitchen, and then 10 minutes of outside or nature. And that's so important for kids nowadays, because, our lives are so busy, they're so rushed, and with electronics, I know as a parent myself, I have to make a conscious effort to say, okay, guys, let's get off the electronics for a little bit. Even sometimes on the weekend, we'll be sitting home and we don't have anything to do, and they'll be on their electronics all day, and then the day goes by and I'm like, man, it's 5 o'clock. Yeah. So that's what I've been doing with her, and I'm not gonna lie, yesterday I had a super busy yet productive day, and I did work out on my own. But when Melina came home, she's like, all right, what are we gonna do? So I said, all right, let's just settle in, let's make dinner, and then we'll focus on it. I was tired, and I didn't want to. However, I knew that I had to set a good example for her. I had to set a good example for my daughter. And a lot of the times, sometimes if we don't feel like doing something, if we just give ourselves that little bit of a push and just get started.
Well, what's really cool about what you just said is the accountability part. And that's so important. It doesn't matter what age, is that when we are surrounded by people that want to do the same thing, then when those moments when someone in the community doesn't feel like it, then everyone else lifts you up and gives you that push.
Oh,
and that's
absolutely.
The important part. With when you commit to someone else, then in those moments where you're like, then you have the support. And that's why I'm really excited about building this community so we can really empower and inspire others. But you make a commitment to someone else.
Yes,
it's different.
Yes, we made this commitment, and I can't let her down. And we have said, we've been a little bit flexible with it. So we have said, okay, we'll either do 10 minutes in the morning or 10 minutes like in the afternoon after school. And I'm not going to lie, neither one of us are morning people. So we haven't done it in the morning, I think maybe twice. For me, the afternoons, work better for her, especially because she loves to be outside and play basketball. So I really do have to say that if it wasn't for my commitment to her and for the accountability, I don't know that I would have done an extra 10 minutes yesterday. Even though I did something on my own, I wanted to make sure that she was able to still keep this, this time with me and this experience, and the dedication to just making time for self. So that was really cool. I wanted to share that with you guys because, as children, self-care nowadays, I feel like can really be, I don't know what the right word is for this, but social media is everywhere. I'm going to try to explain it the best way I can. So self-care, maybe on social media, and maybe you can explain this a little bit better, but just everybody talks about, you got to do this, the importance of it. And like I said before, it's not necessarily about what you're doing and how you're doing it. It's really about the inner journey of what's important to you, and what makes you feel taken care of, and making the time for yourself and knowing that that's important.
And I think we talked about that last week also. It is the expectations of what our community or our culture expects of us. And we can, if you're talking about the social media and self-care, it's like, okay, I have to do this, I have to do that. And really being able to reflect and clarify for yourself, what is it that I'm doing because what's expected of me from the outside world, compared to really listening to our inner needs. So that it is tough because, it becomes the buzzword, self-care.
That's great. That's exactly what I was trying to say. It's like the buzzword. It's in the media. It's like the health coaches and self-care.
And the sad part sometimes, I think, is that it almost shuts some people down. But the exciting part is that if we really help each other realize, okay, this is what is happening, and it is what, because it's created to awaken something within you, and not have it be, I have to do all that stuff. It's like, oh, why am I, why is it bothering me that so many people are talking about it? And then this is a sign to say, okay, well, let's look inwardly how that lesson or how that experience is presented to me, so I can work on me from the inside out. And so the buzzwords, it's cool because it gives us a sign that we, something to become aware of. But then, like you're saying, it's not about doing all these things, because like going out to have a drink is not going to be something that is going to work for me, but it could work for you, for example. And just really becoming aware of what works well for me. But also, I like to throw that in, is just becoming aware of not getting attached to, well, I love to eat, for example. It's like, well, like, great, I love to eat, but then finding that that place where overeating compared to, so it doesn't become a crutch or becomes an addiction or becomes a doing the opposite, eating too much, even though, oh, it's nice to eat a nice, I don't know, apple, but you could also eat like, 20 apples and then you're going to be like,
well, I mean, a big part of self-care is also understanding your boundaries.
Right. Yeah.
That's a big component, and whether that be physically, mentally, emotionally,
right.
Nutritionally, it's really focusing on that as well.
Yeah.
And I do want to say that I also, when I was younger, I used to think about, well, let's talk about, why self-care isn't selfish, I guess, is probably the right word. And really just thinking about understanding your needs. And it's not a selfish thing. It's something that, like, for example, the reason why I bring that up, there's been many times in my life where I have, said, yes, I'll do that for you, or yes, I'll come, or, sure, I can fit that in, even though I know I didn't really want to.
Yeah.
And I think I always had this idea that, how selfish of me that I couldn't give myself, or I can't just show up, or just because it's family, or just because it's my friend, or just because it's the school and they're expecting me to volunteer. And really just understanding that it's not selfish for you to say, no, I'm sorry, I can't do that right now, or I can't commit to it. One of my dear friends taught me that a few years ago, long ago. I don't remember the phrase right now. I know she's watching right now though. Hi, Donna. Yes, I'm talking about you. Just saying, like, no, thank you, and that's it, and being okay with that.
Right.
So
it is hard. It is, and it and to realize that it's not necessarily because when you have a kind heart, there's always that part of us that like, like not feeling bad, but like to realize it's never going to go away. If you have a kind heart and you always want to help, it's okay to like feel that little bit of guilt because it's human.
Yes.
But to just how to balance it with not allowing it to take you out of who you are, like give too much.
Yes.
So it never becomes, so it's that difference between someone that doesn't care at all and someone that truly cares and at the same time cares about themselves as well. Because when this about, giving 100% of yourself and then there's nothing left for you type thing. You can't give anymore if you don't take care of yourself.
Absolutely.
So that's and I just want that for me is it's realizing that it's okay to feel a little bad when you're not able to do it for someone else. But to get to the point where you're able to do it and say, it's okay not to do it. Like, does that make sense? You still have that little, because you have a big heart. It's going to be hard when your friend needs you. But realizing it's totally this whole thing about putting the oxygen mask on.
Yes, like, absolutely. Oh my gosh.
It's
right.
like you hear that so much, but it's, don't feel guilty that you can't put the mask on your friend first. Because you got to think that if you don't take care of you, when your friend really needs you over and over again and you're spent, you can't do it anymore. It's going to be tough.
I love that example. When you're on an airplane and they tell you, now don't forget, put your mask on first before you help
even your baby
else.
Even your baby. I mean, you want to take care of your baby right there, and the first thing you think is like, let me help the baby, but then if you pass out in the process, how do you do that? So
well, and the reason why I brought that up as well is, why self-care isn't selfish, as well as, talking a little bit about, I know I've said it a couple of times already, is, when I was younger or, growing up, and this is what I thought, but, as children, we, we have our families that really try to teach us and give us some basic needs as like, for example, their jobs are to affirm that we are valuable, that they love us, that we are a part of a family. Also, as caregivers, just meeting our needs, making sure that we're healthy, we're strong, we're being fed. Woo! Paper's flying. And then the last one, oh, you got it? Sorry.
You go ahead.
No, and then the last one that I was just going to bring up was just, boundaries. They help us understand how to set boundaries, what our boundaries are, and, teach us about what's right and what's wrong. And so we are so conditioned to, this is what we do, this is what we're supposed to do, this is what our family or our parents have taught us.
Right.
And then we move into adulthood, and all of a sudden it's like, boom, we have to make all these decisions on our own. And not only that, but, being still so young, coming out of high school or going into college, becoming an adult at 18, when our brains still aren't fully developed
right.
to understand the ins and outs of what it is to be an adult. So really thinking about, now it's time for you yourself to take all that you've learned, all of your values, all the negativity, all the positivity, because there's going to be a little bit of both. Oops. Are we still on?
Yeah.
Yes. Okay. Sorry. It just, and I know, and navigating that, like we just talked about, navigating all of that for yourself as an adult, finding your own truths, your own inner beliefs, and then in turn, starting that cycle again with your own children or your own family or your significant others, whatever that may be. So, maybe Adiba can talk a little bit about and expand a little bit about that and self-care, and
I wanted to
looking to yourself, and then maybe we
talked about like expanding and doing more than one 10-10 talk to just get more deeper into specific areas, and then and we see what kind of response we get and questions from people that we talk to, and how to moving forward with 10-10 talks, what to focus on. And that's part of what's exciting about what we're doing. Why we're doing this is to really listen to the needs and what questions are coming up, and to be able to connect with the community out there to really to serve you, because we're here to share what we've learned and what we continue to learn, and then bring it to you as a community out there, to be able to have you share it with others as well. The self-care is, go ahead.
I was just going to say, so do you have any tips for us and what we can do as
what I wanted to, I've been doing some more reading, and those are some steps that really stood out for me to kind of help get a better picture of self-care. Is not always about only sitting in a bubble bath or taking a hot shower or doing that kind of things, but looking at creating a habit. And it's also not like this is my self-care time and I have to make time for it, but it gets to a point where it just becomes part of who we are. So we're continuously doing that, and it becomes like breaking the habit of resisting a change, of doing something different.
Yeah.
So once it becomes, it's like, you get up and you brush your teeth, and you go to the bathroom, you take a shower, you get dressed, it just becomes part of that. And that's what I want for myself to get better at, and to help others, encourage them that it's not like this time, but it just flows. It becomes automatic, it becomes a habit. But whenever we do something different, it's always that resistance.
Always. I know. One of my mentors in my teacher trainings, she always talks about, which I think is so great, because it's something so easy to do, and it never really clicked until I started doing it. But something as simple as, when we talk about movement or doing some kind of, exercise or something for your body, even just like while you're cooking, like just put your hands on the counter and, move your legs a little bit, or stand up on your toes for a 10 count, and then go stir your pasta again, or, go into like cat cow as you're holding onto the counter. Even just little things like that, all those little 1 or 2 or 3 minutes add up to 10 minutes.
Those few seconds make a huge difference. Take a couple of deep breaths while you're cooking. I remember with teaching class, and some of the ladies would be like, I don't have any balance. And I said, practice. Even when you're brushing your teeth, try to stand on one foot while you're brushing your teeth. Like find those moments in time to really incorporate. And those are the self-care things we're talking about. It's not only specific big activity, but it's really incorporating it into who we are, including eating healthy and being mindful. So that is self-care, is that, do I really need to eat the 10th piece of chocolate, right? And mindfulness is just becoming very aware of your surroundings, just driving the car, what does the steering wheel feel like? What are those birds flying? We miss so much. It's just becoming very, very present is self-care. Keeping a list of your accomplishments. I love that. Is like, just little things. It's funny, we hear it at work all the time. It's like, write things down. So if you want a promotion, you can talk about what you've done, but this is our life. Why not start writing things? I cook dinner, 7 days in a row and whatever, and writing it down makes a big difference. It's this coming from out of the thought into physical, writing things down makes a huge difference. Expressing gratitude, for simple things, thanks, Darren, for doing the dishes today. Just expressing it also is self-care, because then you're focusing on what you appreciate and what you have. Being kind to yourself.
Yes.
Just like, give yourself grace. Just, we're human. We're just, life happens, and
not being so judgmental.
Yes.
On yourself.
So I think that the more that we care about others, sometimes we're harsher on ourselves.
Well, think of it. Yes. And think of it this way, like, oh my gosh, if I say something like, oh, I really messed that up. Like, that wasn't enough. I didn't do good. Would you say that to your daughter, or would you say that to your best friend?
Right.
How would you talk to your best friend, or how would you talk to that person in your life that you love and that you want to lift up?
Right.
Say it to yourself.
Yeah.
Right.
And how does it feel like if someone said that to you? Like I visualize, like if you would say that to me, I'm like, how I would feel. I was like, and I'm saying it to myself. Like, so it's like intensely impacting you. So it's both how you definitely won't say it to anyone, but do you want your best friend to say it to you?
Yes.
And and it puts it in such a different perspective. It's like, no, I'm not going to talk to my best friend like that. And I'm not going to do it. We do it to ourselves a lot.
I'm gonna give a great example of that. I'll put myself out there. And we had a family get together last weekend, and I was running late getting ready. We had to take separate cars because I had an event in the afternoon. So I literally had time to shower real quick and get dressed. And I didn't have time to dry my hair. My sister-in-law was here, and I was like, can you just do a quick braid? I left the house like, oh my gosh, like, I feel so like not put together, so rushed, not ready for the day. And I got there, and almost right off the bat, 3 of my family members commented and said, you look so cute today. I love your outfit and your hair. Like, you did a braid. And I was like, oh my gosh. Like, it was just so heartwarming. I said, okay, the rest of the day is going to be beautiful. I'm good to go.
Sometimes so that's what we need to tell ourselves. It's like, I look so cute today. Yeah. I love my braid, and it sounds funny, but that is part of self-care. It's not being selfish, but being selfish is when you have, when you don't have a heart. Yeah. It's really balancing with, being kind to yourself, like you would with your children and the people that you love. And then when you are feeling good, you can't help but do the same for others too. Yes. You have so much more to give. Make a happy space. I think I saw something on your notes too. I love I call it, it could be your relaxing space. I call it the happy space or happy room, whether it's your bedroom or your living room or wherever. It's incredible what your space, and it's not about going out and spending a lot of extra money or money at all. It's just about maybe clearing some clutter. Clutter is one of the things that really, I think, closes the door on self-care, because it's that I feel like it's just no energy flowing. And that's one of the big things that for me, because I used to like just want to keep everything. Oh, this was from that, and this was, like all these things that have memories attached. It's like, how do I clear the clutter without having to spend a lot of money, and having to just have it be a happy space for you personally. So it's not about what someone else thinks it should be. But instead of having, 2-3 cups right there and everything is crowded, maybe space them out, just simple things to listen to yourself. That's the big thing, is how to connect and really listen to what feels good. You walk in a room and it doesn't feel comfortable. It's like, what can I do to just fix it up and make it my happy space? Read happy books, read things that, try not to watch the news so much. Yes, you want to stay up to date. Just be aware of how much bad and negative and heart-wrenching stuff that's coming through. And dance, you talked about movement. It's like dance, just like
whether it be any
like,
kind of movement.
It's like, oh, okay, just give me a minute, just run around like crazy, and then just move. And then you talked about social media, is to limit the social media and limit the news, because everything that comes in has an impact on our brain. You talked about our brain last week or the week before, how it starts there, and what you're feeding it is just reflects on everything. I like the one with the having a happy kit. I was reading about that.
Oh, I love that.
So
that
it could be
sounds.
So what comes to mind when I say have a happy kit? Because that can be so different for everybody. So have a happy kit. What does that mean to you? What do you think?
Well, for me, it means like having some kind of like little, like my favorite gum, and then having maybe like when we walked in with the peppermint today.
Oh yeah,
that was amazing.
Oh no, now I have the oil in my cake.
Oh no.
Yeah.
Yes. She walked in with some essential oil and mint, and I was like, oh, I love that smell. It's so good. Maybe even like my favorite, I love having like little note cards, kind of like a card deck, but I have a couple of them, like one for mindfulness, one for quotes. I like that kind of stuff, putting a different quote in it, or changing that up every day. And
that's so you have a kit. That's as I was reading, and
I don't have a kit. No, I just love that idea. That's
I would put in. I don't have one too, but when I was reading that, I was like, that is a cool idea. It's just create a happy kit. It could be, it could be books. It could be, I mean, it can be, it could be a good movie that you want to watch, a happy movie. It can be
your favorite, like little candies or gum, like mints, or like I just said,
right?
My extra spearmint gum that I love.
And hey, it could be even like
pictures.
Yeah, like if you can color, like a coloring book. That's what I was thinking. You can, color. It could be any kind of craft, needlepoint. If you're watching on a replay, let us know in the comments what are some of the things you would put in a happy kit.
Yes,
and
that
use
would be
that.
wonderful.
So let's wrap it up. I'm gonna just kind of look over my notes. And we talked about being around people and surrounded by people that uplift you. It is so true. Oh, I've gotta tell you this story. Is that so this happened at work. I won't mention any names, but someone just as we were talking in a kind of a quick meeting with everybody, and this person cussed and was so apologetic and went into this like, I've been hanging around these friends that came into town and we haven't been around. And he well, anyway, you won't know who it is, but it's how he said, and that's the language that was going on, and we spent whatever it was, the weekend, whatever together. And right away, he's like, this is such proof of who you hang around with really just brings out whatever it is, the best or the worst in you. It's so true, because I mean, I had never heard him cuss before, but you spend a few hours with people and without thinking, it just brings that out in you. So one of the things for self-care is spend time with people that uplift you, that you love being around, and really respect you and honor you and give you grace, and just love being around them, because that really, we're people. Humans need humans too.
We do. We need social interaction. It's really important for.
And you want to be addicted
for
to
health.
happy instead of addicted to negativity, because you can get addicted, and that can be a whole nother talk. Is how we can be stuck in a very unhealthy relationship. But we want to be stuck in a happy relationship.
Absolutely. And I know life isn't perfect and it's not always happy, but the more we surround ourselves,
and how
think
to
that way,
right,
and
it's happy to bring the happy from within, to let it shine, and taking every experience that we might label as not happy as a learning experience. Okay, why is that going on, and how to go through that journey of not being stuck there, but just stepping into the best you.
Yes, I love it. I love it.
So what would you like to add? Then we can wrap it up.
Yes, I know that we are running out of time here. I'm going to keep it short, but I think the last thing I just want to wrap it up with is just maybe talking about a couple of little things that you can do as a family for self-care. You know, Adiba talked about creating, a happy, like a happy place or a happy space, something that's comfortable for you. So even for your family, creating some type of space for planning or setting goals or identifying your purpose, what you want to do as a family, and what works for everyone. So that way everyone can be involved, and also taking turns, because sometimes one week this may not work for your teenager, but it works amazingly for, the younger child in your family. Brainstorming activities together, really for self-care. We talked a lot about caring for your mind, your body, and your heart.
Yeah.
And then also talking about maybe the frequency, how often do you want to commit to it? Like I committed to the 30 minutes a day, but it might be once a week, game night. It might be once a week, have dinner together, whatever works for you and your family.
Right.
And then also posting it, not on social media, but posting it, seeing it, writing it out, putting it on the refrigerator, getting a little chalkboard or a dry erase board and writing down, this is what we're going to do and this is when it's going to happen. That works really well, I think, for kids and for families to really have some rules, set some boundaries around it, some healthy boundaries, and make that commitment and have that accountability to follow through.
Perfect. It's follow through. That's what we're gonna do. And I hope that we are inspiring you and empowering you out there to just set boundaries and take that step. Just make it happen. It's a journey. It's not about everything being perfect and great or whatever. Like, get away from those labels, because it's perfect the way it is at this moment. And looking back 10 years from now, things are going to be different, but it's knowing that you can keep moving forward and not being so hard on ourselves.
Yes,
that's the big thing, is this enjoy life. And I love what you said about posting it and writing it down. When you transfer it onto paper or something, it makes it just has a whole different energy and impact on ourselves.
I always do that for myself, even when I'm having thoughts or wanting to put some thoughts together or have ideas or just want to remember something. I just write it down. I may never see it again. I stick it in somewhere, but even just notes, I might know that, like, I know exactly like what I want to talk about and what I want to say, but knowing that I wrote it down, it kind of makes that commitment for me, and
makes a huge difference. Huge difference. It's like retraining the brain.
Yes.
So once you write it down, I do this joy journal now that from Danelle Delgado. That's been a huge turning point for me. It's just taking that time every day to write some 10 things I'm grateful for, and gratitude and goals, and they're just simple 4 steps every day. And it's amazing how when you start writing down, things start to shift.
And you might think that, how am I going to think of 10 different things every day? It can be a lot of the same things too. just start it. And then once you start, you realize like, oh, wow, I really have like 20 things I can write today.
Oh yeah. And I was listening to some today about, being grateful even for your eyesight, but then it's not just the eyesight, but think about, because you can see, what are all the things that you see that you're grateful for? Also, it's like, so it's the one thing that like gives you multiple things to be grateful for. And forgiveness for yourself and others, just to remember that everyone goes through struggles, and some people at that moment when you run into them might be experiencing a little bit of tough time, and just be forgiving, and then be kind to them, and the same for yourself.
Absolutely.
So, well, I am good where we are. What about you?
Yes, I think we've had a great chat, and we definitely discussed a lot about some of the little points that we wanted to make. And if anybody has any questions, feel free to comment, reach out to us, send a post, any way that you can, any way that you like, any way that to get in touch with us.
reach out. Just think about it, and it's going to happen. And reach out to others, really reach out to people that you trust, and that keep that conversation going. It doesn't have to be directly with us, but we're here to open that space to get that energy moving, to get the thought process, to get you moving into stepping into the best you.
Yes, and holding that space.
Yes.
And I'm gonna.
There they go.
I was just gonna say, yeah,
and
there goes the dog.
go.
And that's time to go. And that's the last thing I was gonna say. Just hold that space for yourself, and give yourself the grace to follow through.
All right. Thanks, Tanya. And thanks everyone for watching and listening. And we will see you next time on 1010 Talk.